right, good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Chef Costco? Hell yeah, man. Team Cost. Yeah, what a move. Love it. That setup worked out beautifully. The long-term look, just the patient, nice Costco, nice patient long on Costco. Really nice. Also, Philip Morris. I think Philip Morris might actually be... I think this might be one of my best trades ever. I'm not going to lie. I really do. Not like dollar-wise. Percentage-wise, it's up 200% yesterday. But just entry point-wise, like just the instant gratification of this trade, zero drawdown and just a pretty much vertical move since our entry. This thing has been fantastic. Definitely one I wish I put a little bit more money in. That's for sure. Took some profits yesterday, and I'm probably going to hold the rest through earnings. Took half off, up 200%. That's a pretty much it's more than a free trade. It's actually it's guaranteed to be a positive trade at this point. So I'm probably just gonna ride the rest through the earnings. That was sort of the original idea there. So that was a good one. Nvidia not so much. Nvidia not so much, but we shall see. We shall see. Morning, everyone. Welcome back. It's 400% on CRM swings. Oh, baby. Nice. Yeah, CRM, another one. Yeah, that finally fired a little bit yesterday. That was really nice to see. CRM. Really nice. Kzen, what's up, man? Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Keep up the good work. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Trying, man. Trying. Morning, everyone. Welcome back. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday to all the familiar faces. Going to be an interesting day. Meta. Yeah, Derb, Meta. What a day. So I wanted to talk about, we'll get into this sort of early because I don't want to waste too much time here on, we'll make sure to jump into the technicals. Wow, Meta making new highs right now. I wanted to talk through just a few things that I took away from yesterday. Just a few things that I think are, important to pay attention to. So, right, we woke up yesterday and, pretty much downside panic on the market. And what I noticed yesterday was just insane strength on everything, right, besides semiconductors, which is understandable. But everything besides the semis, huge recoveries. Amazon, Meta, Google was okay. Apple, strong. CRM, straight up. A lot of straight up sort of strength across tech. And then obviously just the semiconductors sort of lagging. So that is, in my opinion, important to pay attention to because it was not just a broad market sell-off. There was, Meta's at all-time highs. Amazon's pretty much at all-time highs. Huge recoveries across tech names that, maybe are not so wrapped up in the semiconductor sort of panic that's going on, the fear or the uncertainty that's happened. So that's important, right? If we saw Meta down 15% yesterday, Amazon down 15% yesterday, just broad market sell-off, then yeah, that would have been a big concern. But I think it's very important to realize that those tech stocks recovered tremendously yesterday. So that's number one. Number two is the Dow was green yesterday. The Dow flipped green, very strong moves on the Dow stocks. Costco, Home Depot, some of the big Dow names. J&J was strong yesterday. So some good strength across some Dow names, which is another thing that I think is an important takeaway. So an interesting move, right? Interesting move. Definitely seems to be only semiconductors, right? It's not a big broad market sell-off yesterday. Really just the semiconductor weakness, which I think is possibly an opportunity, right? Possibly. We shall see. But if it's not a broad market sell-off, then I would be more interested to see if the semiconductors do present an opportunity. If it was just a huge sell-off and everything was dropping 10, 15%, then yeah, it's probably a little bit more concerning. So let's see, right? Let's see. Let's keep calm. Let's pay attention to where the opportunities arise. And some actually really nice setups still to the upside. However, there's one however, right? There's one concern. The one concern is some very key levels on the overall market. Some very key levels on the S&P 500 futures and the Nasdaq futures. These are the exact levels that we talked about in the live stream yesterday. 60.50 to 60.70 on the ES. That was our pop and fade level. You can see the failures at those levels today and even some of the failures at those levels yesterday. 21,460 to 21,560 on the Nasdaq futures. This was our supply yesterday coming into the pre-market live stream. We said very possible pop and failures at the daily 20 and the daily 50 on the Nasdaq. All right, so this is the concern, right? Is this a lower high on the Nasdaq futures? Is this a lower high on the S&P 500 futures? That is what we have to watch today, right? Do we start to see failures at our lower high, right? At our lower high. So that's really the importance, right, today. This is what you're watching very closely. Can the market continue this recovery, or do we get one of these, another clear failure here at the 60-70? That is going to be, look at how clear this is going to be today. If we see another failure at the 60-70 and we start to roll over, then that is definitely a sign of more weakness to come, for sure. Right, so very important here today. Huge, huge, huge. That's what you're watching more than anything. Right, Nasdaq futures having some trouble at our supply after a little bit of a pop yesterday off that 100. So that's big. Let's see, right? This is going to be something very closely to watch, or very, very important to watch today. And, yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about it in just a moment. So press that like button as you jump in. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Help me get to 100,000. Where are we at? I didn't even sort of look at it yesterday. How are we doing on the subscriber growth here? We're almost to 97. Almost to 97,000. We need, what do we need? We need 9 people. 9 people. Who wants to do it? Who wants to be those 9? 97,000. We're at 96,991. Need 9 more people. Please. Please. All right. I want to get that plaque. I also have a really cool sign coming back here. This whole, where is this? Where am I? This whole background back here is going to be totally changed soon. I'm going to get rid of all this, put in a sign back there. This way. So hopefully I get to put the plaque up there soon. All right. Press that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Yeah, tell your family. Tell your family. Tell your family. Tell your friends. Tell them to just subscribe. All right. 5 more. 5 more. Oh, people are unsubscribing now. Doing it on purpose, I'm sure. I just got 2 people to unsubscribe. Very nice. Oh, we're back up. All right, let's do it. Press that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Here we go. Economic calendar. So, economic calendar. Today, Tuesday. Oh, let me get this pulled up for us here. Didn't say it. It was all right, man. I went and drove. My buddy bought me like one of those track days where you can like rent the cars that they have and you can drive them around the track. It was fun. Do I desire to have a do I think that a Lamborghini is that exciting if you're a car guy? I think it is. I don't know. I don't know if I love the engine. It seems like an R8 to me, the Huracan. I don't know. You guys that are car guys understand. Maybe not to some. I think I like the Porsches a lot more, man. I love the 6-cylinder. I love the sound. I just think it's more of an experience than a V10. V10s are sweet, but I don't know. I love the Porsches, man. That's if you're a car guy, you get it. It was a good time, though. It was a good time. Would I buy one? Probably not. Probably not, to be honest. Probably not. All right. So, Tuesday. That's today. 8:30, durable goods. 9 o'clock, home price index. 10 o'clock, consumer confidence. So, some things going on here. We can pay attention to that. 8:30, we'll see what the market does around 8:30 on durable goods. Home price index 9 o'clock, and then 30 minutes after open, we got that consumer confidence. So we'll see what happens. I'd say we wait the first 30, let the consumer confidence come out, and then see what the reaction is there. Wednesday, tomorrow, we have the FOMC. So that's going to be very big. FOMC tomorrow. That is going to be an important FOMC. Here's my read on it, okay? And I'm not sure if I'm just, this is my guess. And so all you guys out there that are, trying to get a read for what I think here, first of all, make sure you know that it's a guess, okay? It's an educated guess. But, am I going to trade off this? No, I'm not. However, here's what I would say. I think moving forward, whether you believe it or not, I think Trump is going to have a very big effect on the Fed, even though he's not supposed to, right? The president is not supposed to influence the Federal Reserve. That's how it's meant to be, right? There should be no collusion going on there. However, I think you have seen it be very clear that Trump wants lower interest rates, and he doesn't seem to care what that means, right? I don't think that they will cut rates. No, I do not think they will cut rates. However, I would assume there starts to be somewhat of a dovish approach from the Federal Reserve. I don't think it's right? I don't think that's a right thing to want, right? I don't think that there should be an influence there, but I sort of feel like there will be. So I don't know. But I do know that I feel like Trump's going to have a word, right? He's going to have a word. So we shall see. My feeling is that the fear that we saw on the previous FOMC will be sort of resolved, right? Will be resolved, right? Will be sort of calmed down. That's my understanding. That's my feel on it. You guys take what you want. I am not here to tell you what happens on FOMC. That's not why I'm here, right? I'm not here to guess on FOMC. That's not my game, okay? But I do believe that there will be some influence. So, moving forward, Thursday, GDP, unemployment claims. Friday, PCE, employment cost index. And then that's the end of the week. All right? All right, that's that. FOMC Wednesday, going to be very interesting. Next, earnings. Tomorrow's really the big day. Tomorrow is the big day for earnings, for sure. Both pre-market and after hours, right? Both pre-market and after hours tomorrow. Today we had Boeing, we had GM, we had Lockheed Martin, we had Royal Caribbean, we had JetBlue. RCL, probably one of the best comeback stocks, which sort of just flew under my radar completely, man, which I'm sort of upset about. We'll go ahead and take a look at that chart in a second, but man, did this fly under the radar for me. Tonight, Starbucks. Tomorrow morning, ASML, important for the semiconductors, right there. After hours tomorrow, Tesla, Meta, Microsoft, huge. Thursday, UPS, MasterCard, Blackstone, or is that BlackRock or Blackstone? I think it's BlackRock. I'm not sure. I can't see. Thursday, Apple, Intel, Visa, and that's about it. Exxon, AbbVie, Chevron, we know that. So today was Boeing, GM, Lockheed, Royal. Boeing pretty much flat. RCL, man. Like I said, look at this comeback. Look at this comeback. Have not paid attention to this one nearly enough. Really nice retest to that 140, 135 zone right here. right? Look at that break above that major weekly high right there. Held above that right there, right? Boom, held, and then look at that move since. Really nice on RCL. People are on the cruises again. Good earnings report from them today. Nice upside. If you're long RCL, man, and you have those shares and you have it maybe back from those COVID lows, congratulations, right? Big congratulations to you guys that are riding out that RCL move, right? Because those COVID lows were some extreme lows back there. 31. Let me go back to this 1 second. Actually, no, sorry. Lower than that. Holy crap. Yeah, that was lower than... What was the lows? 20? Right? 20 was the COVID lows. Since then, just a beautiful comeback. So, that's that. Let's continue. Nasdaq futures. Here we go. Let's jump into it. So, all right. So, a few things to talk about here, right? Let's start on this read. Let's just understand this read first, and then we'll jump into the shorter term in just a second. So the first thing I want to point out here, guys, is the fact that the Nasdaq futures absolutely are still in a channel, right? The Nasdaq futures is absolutely still in a channel. It has not broken any type of major structure low, 20,700 being that major structure low, right? On the daily chart, you can see just that very clear 20,700, 20,700, and yesterday 20,700, once again holding on the Nasdaq futures. So that hold yesterday, right, whether we're going to come back down to retest that or not, for now, that hold yesterday keeps the Nasdaq futures in this major structure and really just a sideways channel, right? Really, it's just a sideways channel. For the last 2 months, we've pretty much just been trading within this large channel, which is about it's a big channel. It's not small. It's on a daily chart. It's huge. So there's obviously levels in between. But for now, like that major structure steps up around 20,700, and that defended yesterday. All right, if we broke below that yesterday and we start to fail below that 20,700, then that is absolutely the next big, downside selling move, right, for sure. But for now, we maintain. Right, for now we maintain. So that's an important takeaway for now. Moving in, right, zooming in, there is a very important supply and rejection level above that I am sort of concerned about today, that I would be concerned about yourself, right, and understand that we will need to get above it to see any type of recovery on this Nasdaq futures. We need to get above this area right here. You guys see this previous high over here? All right, let me zoom into this previous high back here. This previous high right here on the Nasdaq futures. This was a consolidation range on the Nasdaq futures for about 2 weeks, right? We can see sort of the failure to move higher here, which eventually turned into a sell-off, right? That is, I don't know why I still have these at, well, I guess it is sort of the previous all-time high, so I'll just keep it there. That is also, right, if I zoom even further back, even if I zoom all the way back to here, which is back in July, right, we can see this was a very clear all-time high. Right, this was your all-time high at the time, which heavily sold off back in July into August. That was a huge sell-off. Damn. 17% on the market. That was a huge sell-off. Right off 21,460, right off 21,560. Right, that is right there. That is right here. And guess what? That is right where we're at. That is exactly where we are at today. So, this is going to be huge. Can the Nasdaq futures reclaim this zone? Can the Nasdaq futures get back above the daily 20 and the daily 50 SMA, get back above this major previous all-time high level, and it's a very clear supply zone as of now, right? We have that failure here. We have those failures here. When we were able to get above it right here, we saw the market continue. And now we are trading back below it, right? So the concern here is now that we're trading back below it, a pop back into it would be a retest and rejection. That is definitely a concern, a valid concern that you should be watching on the market. So that is huge. 21,460, 21,560. This was the same level we walked into yesterday and knew that rejections were possible. And this was the same level that we saw intraday yesterday, pop and fade, right? Right as we started to get close to that supply zone, we started to see the selling take place. That is the same place that we are starting to see some selling take place in the pre-market again today. So I would be very careful establishing longs as we approach this level, right? If we start to see the market get close here again today, you're not slamming long positions into this supply in the Nasdaq, right? That is very, very clear. Okay? Now, to the other side, right? To the flip side. There's still a flip side to this, right? There's still a downside demand that you need to be paying attention to before you just decide to absolutely, put your whole account in puts at this level, hoping that it breaks down. There's still downside demands that you need to pay attention to. The first one being 21,200, right here. 21,200, 21,200. This is like down to the one, right? You probably can put it like all within here. This is like the 150, 130. I'd probably call it like 150, 145, right? You can see here, right there, right here, right? And so this zone was a very important previous zone. And you can see yesterday, look at how it maintained above that zone, right? We were able to pop and retest and hold above this demand. That was this low here. That was this low here. That was this high here. That was this high here. That was these lows here. That was these lows right here. And so what you'd need to see, in my opinion, to believe that this fade is going to continue, right? The possible fade of this level, right? What do you need to think that this is going to continue lower? That is a break, likely back under these lows from yesterday. 21,200 to around this 21,150, 140 zone, right? If we go into the 5-minute chart, we can see, I think you're going to need to see a convincing fail. If I can zoom in here, TUS will allow me. I think you're going to need to see a convincing fail back under these lows from yesterday, right around here. I would call it 140. You maybe can even call it the 100, right? It's not a perfect zone here. Honestly, it almost looks like you can call it the 100 at these lows right here, right there and right there. 21,100, that almost looks like the level that you need to be watching this entire zone, right? Anywhere between the 200 and 100 looks to be some buying that stepped up over the last, over this day yesterday. So for me, I would need to see a convincing fail back under this 21,100, back under this low from yesterday, back under this morning low from yesterday, right? If we break that, then I think you would continue and lose that strength, right? Which would drive us back down to that 21,000 flat. If you really want to be patient for that next failure, right? If you really want to be patient and you don't want to get stuck in any type of bear trap here, I think it is very clear that a break back under 21,000 would be just the end-all, be-all, right? And would absolutely be where this market starts to fail again, right? If we break back under the 21,000, you can see right here, hold on. If we break back under the 21K, if we break back under the 100 SMA, which is right here, you can see this. You can see some of this consolidation here. You can see the 100 SMA right there. If we break back under that, then you're absolutely getting about a 300-point sell-off, right? Back to 20,700, which is that huge low. So it's a little bit tricky, in my opinion, to want to short into the 100 SMA, right? It's just not typically the best opportunity, right? You have seen in the past, shorting anywhere near this 100 SMA has just not been a great read, a great risk-reward idea. Shorting up at these highs was fantastic, right? Shorting up at the previous supply high, look at this, right there, right? If you shorted over the weekend because of a Nasdaq supply high, I mean, you just got gifted the best thing you could possibly ask for, right? If you just said, hey, I like this Nasdaq supply high, right? This is where the rejection should come in. This is where my risk reward is proper for the short side, and I'm going to go ahead and swing some downside, right? Boom, baby, right? Beautiful. But now you've gotten down to that area. So it gets a little bit more tricky now, right? It's pretty much this entire area, right? Anywhere between 21.2 and 21,000. Honestly, the more I look at this, the more I just want to say you put your chart like this. And I know it's a big zone, and I know it's like not great for intraday trading. But I'm going to be honest with you. It almost looks like you need to have just demand sort of marked out in this entire 200-point zone down here, right? Anywhere between 21K and this 21,200 really does look to be where the buyers step back in. Really anywhere between this channel down here at 21K and 21.2. So that would be a tough spot, in my opinion, to really expose myself to the short side, right? Anywhere in this zone down here, anywhere that's potentially seeing some buyers stepping up, and anywhere above that 100 SMA would just not be a comfortable short for me. You could look to fade this level intraday, right? Very nicely. You could look to take some short-term scalp fades off this 21,460, 560 zone. But I would be a profit taker into 21.2, and I'd be a profit taker into 21K. Right? If you do get that fade, I think you profit take, sort of into these lows. Something here, something here. I think that's the profit you take, and that's the trade you look for. If you are able to then break under 21,000 and the 100 SMA, then you can reestablish that short and stay very aggressive looking for downside back towards the 20,700, right? So that's the way I would look at this. Could we get a pretty choppy day between this channel right here? Yeah, I think so, right? I think so, right? Anywhere between 21.2 and 21,460, I think you can absolutely see a pretty choppy day within that channel, right? Maybe before FOMC tomorrow, so let's be careful of that as well. 21.2, 21K, 21,460 to 21,560, heavy zone above. Once again, I want to point out how big that is. We'll go to the daily chart, right? I'm actually going to do this. We'll go to the daily chart. We'll pop this here. 21,560, 21,460 zone, right up here. Right, look at this. Right there, and that is exactly where you are trading at today. So right here, you can see rejection, rejection, and if you go into the short-term time frames, that is exactly where you're trading into today. So, big spot, big spot. If you are able to reclaim this today, if you are able to see the Nasdaq reclaim that level today and hold back above these previous highs, that is where I think you get an actual recovery on this market, right? I think an actual recovery on this market comes in if you can hold above the 20 and 50 SMA and hold above the 21,540, 560 zone. Right there. That's where you start to see a real recovery if you can get above that zone today. That's what you watch for. All right? All right. This will be more clear as we sort of break it through, break through some more levels, break through some more futures, and it all starts to line up. You'll see it here momentarily. QQQ. Very clear, right? Right here. See this channel right here? This is a structure. You have very clearly seen this be a structure on the market. You've seen this turn into this, turn back into this, right? And now look at where you are again. You're right between this structure right here. You're right between this structure right here on the QQQ. See that? 511 to 520.50. That's your zone right now. You can see yesterday, if we go to the 5-minute chart, here's the 5-minute chart yesterday. You can see the QQQ was able to maintain that 511 low, bam, bam, but has been unable to break above the 50 and 20 SMA and that major supply at 520, 520.50. So for now, you have found your channel, right? You have found your structure. So you're going to need to see, if I zoom back out to the hourly chart, you are going to need to see a break above those highs and a break above these lows right around 520.50 to really believe that there is a recovery on this market, right? If we can hold back above this 520.50, then I think you navigate through this gap fill pretty much straight to 528. That would be your recovery move that I would look for. But you very clearly need to get back above this failure high and these very clear lows, right? Look at how that flipped just last week. Just last week, you saw a flip from supply into a new demand, right? A rejection into a support area. Very, very clear there. Now you're trading back into that area, which can be the new failure point. Very clear there as well. So that is an area to stay patient and be cautious of. Above, you have the 20 and 50 SMA, which could be a rejection as well, which we saw rejections at yesterday, right? Take a look at this. Look what happened when the Qs hit this zone yesterday. Look at that right there. 20 and 50 SMA stacked up, push higher, bam, failure, right? And we're sort of pushing back into that area today. Here it is again today, failure. And let's see what happens on the intraday today. Is it another failure? We shall see. To the downside, we can very clearly see on this 4-hour chart, right? Take a look at this 4-hour chart. Very big holds here, right? Demand lows, demand lows, demand lows, demand lows, and look at yesterday. Demand lows and a major wick off that 505 area on the QQQ. Right there, right? And that 100 SMA. Okay? So we can see very clearly 511. We can see very clearly 505, 504. And we can see very clearly, look at this 520.50 spot. Holds, rejections, rejections, rejections. Is it another rejection today on a lower high? That is what I would be watching for today. We got our durable goods number. How's the market reacting to it? A little bit of failure up at that supply again on that ES. Nasdaq sort of right in the center of this channel. TOS, I hate when it does this, man. You can't zoom in sometimes. You have to like click away or do something else. A little bit of failure there. Let me go back to the Nasdaq levels there. So there, you're just sort of right in the middle of that channel still. ES. All right, let's move on to the ES. So, ES. Very clear spot here. 60-70. 60-70 on the ES. That's your spot today, my friends. 60-70. Let's talk about it. Right here, 60-70. 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 And here we are again at 60-70. So let's go down to the hourly chart. Hourly chart on the ES. Take a look at this. 60-70, bam, downside. 60-70, short-term rejection. Ended up breaking above it, which led to upside. Right here, we broke 60-70. When we failed that 60-70, that's when the downside really started to come in, right? After we failed back below that, these highs, downside really started to flush in after 60-70. Now today, look at where you're at. You are right at the 60-70 level. Bam. This is either the fade spot or this is where the market truly recovers. It is right here at 60-70, in my opinion. You can see right here last week, Monday's highs, Tuesday's highs. Tuesday, you got above it, which caused a rip to the upside. After you got above 60-70 on Tuesday, the upside came in and ripped, right? After you broke this 60-70 right here, the downside flushed aggressively. This is the telling level. This is the line in the sand. 60-70 on the ES. You rejected it here early morning. Are you able to recover over it today? Can you get a 60-70 break and retest? Can you get that thing higher off 60-70? Big, big question today. Big. So, we'll be watching that very closely. Now, if we get rejections off 60-70 today, you do need to be careful at this 60-35, right there. 60-35, and then the 6,000 flat. Those are your next two demand levels below. So if you reject here today at 60-70, be careful of it just sort of chopping at 60-35. If you break 60-35 today and you see something like this, then I think you can fade this back down to 6,000 flat, right? So this could be a little short you could look for today on a failure back under these lows, back under 35. I think you could look for that failure back down to 6,000. I think that's a very possible short to be paying attention to today, okay? So, 60-35, 6,000. That's really the only spots. Yeah, I had 60-50 yesterday. It's right at that 50 SMA, so I'm just leaving the 50 there. But yeah, I mean, it's 60-70 to 60-50. 60-50 is the 50 SMA. So you could look to see if that 50 SMA holds, but I would probably be a little bit more focused on that zone right there, personally. That could be our range today? Yeah, it probably is, Ty. This is possibly our range today. Maybe back down to 35, back up to 70, and this sort of very possible. If you break under 35, then you'll break down to 6, which could be an interesting, sort of double bottom low at the 20 SMA. That could be an interesting watch. Over 60-70, you would probably get this move up to 60-100 and sort of get back into that potential where that gap started right there at 60-100. Okay? But for now, we are absolutely seeing the failures at 60-70, right? We are absolutely seeing the failures as we get close to that 21-460 and that QQQ as we get close to that 20 and 50 SMA. Still a very heavy spot above. SPY. All right, look how big this is on the SPY. Very clear level. This was our target, right? This was our target on the SPY yesterday. Right there. 602, 602.50. You guys know that level. If you come to this live stream, we've been talking about it all last week and yesterday and now obviously today. 602, 602.50. Very clear lows right here. Triple bottom lows. Break. Retest. Smack down. Exact level. And look at where you're trading today. The exact level. 602, 602.50 on the dot. And look at the failures that you're possibly seeing at that spot today. Bam. 602, 602.50. So, that is very clearly the level that needs to break. That is very clearly the level that you will need to get above for any type of continuation to the upside. If you want to see upside today, if you want to see any continuation and recovery of this downside move, this will be the line in the sand. You need to get back above this major rejection high, and you need to get back above these major triple bottom lows. If you can get back above that, then you trade back into 605. You probably trade back into 608, right? And you start to just sort of recover this move. But you need to get over that 602, 602.50. Some things to pay attention to on the downside. Yesterday, we had a very clear hold of that 590 spot, right? This was sort of that where that gap started, which I'm actually very surprised we did not get the gap fill. This is a major gap that I'm still sort of monitoring. Below 590 into 585. That's also the 100 SMA at 585. Do we still need that gap fill? Possible, right? We shall see. But under 590, you'd probably get your 585 gap fill and the move to the 100 SMA. You will not get that unless you fail back under 596 right here. This 596 to 598 zone. You will not get this move to 590 unless you fail back under 596. These previous highs right here, holding right yesterday very clearly. Let me go ahead and break this down on the short-term time frames, and you can see where that hold came in. Take a look at this zone right here. Look at that all day yesterday. All day yesterday. 596. 596 all day yesterday, would not give up. So if you want to see, right, maybe that move back to 590 down here, you're going to need to see a failure back under 596. If you see that fail under yesterday's lows, then that is a very telling, downside is approaching or coming in. That is a very clear read right there. So 596 is sort of that line in the sand for the bulls. If we break back below that, back below these lows from yesterday, I would assume easily the 20 SMA and probably the 590. Which would then open the door to the gap fill, right down here. So, very important watch there. Today, all about 602, 602.50, and all about whether this demand down here holds. All right? Very nice. IWM, not much really to read here. Just another clear technical rejection yesterday, right? Just another failure at our exact same supply. Our 230, 230.50. Our 50 SMA, just clearly sort of the smackdown level and continues to be. Little pop, little fade. Back under the 230 or 227 zone. I would probably want this back to here, guys, before looking for anything to the upside. I think you might need lower. I think a retest of these lows right here looks proper, right? Right around that 223, right around that daily 20. I think that's probably the proper pullback that I'd be looking for. For now, I'd be careful at the rejections of 227. I'd be obviously careful the rejections of 230. Dow Jones, man, 44K yesterday. A level we talked about. Look at that 44K bounce yesterday. Nutty. 44K, 44K, break and retest, bam, bam, bam. So, huge hold on the Dow yesterday. Closing green with a lot of strength yesterday on the Dow Jones. 44K on the Dow Jones, daily 50 SMA, very strong hold. Probably going to have some trouble as you approach like this 45, right? You can see right here. I'm sure you'll have a little bit of trouble as you approach 45, so just be careful of that. I'll show you why. 45, 45, 45, and 45. So very clear there. 45 is going to be a little bit tough on the Dow Jones. So a little bit of rejection possible. It looks like you got yourself like a 1,000-point zone, which is just sort of tough to trade the Dow on. Look for a hold above 45. That would probably set up the next long on the Dow. Or look for a pullback, I'd say, back towards this 44, maybe back towards that daily 50. SMH. All right, so here's the big one, right? Here's the big one. Here's what decides your day, I think, for the most part. Here's what decides your day for the most part today. 242, SMH. That is what I think decides what this market looks like today, at least what the tech market looks like. Here's a very clear low, 242, right? Look at that right there. Very clear low, 242. Look at how we are breaking it and retesting it this morning, right here at 242. If the SMH cannot reclaim 242, if it cannot do something like this and reclaim these lows, okay, if we don't get that move, and we see this turn into a major failure and trade back down to the lows, then the SMH is not, right, going to get a recovery in the short term. I think it is a must for the SMH to recover 242 today. That is the exact level that you have seen the failures at so far this morning. Right here. 242. Bam. That's your level. If you can get back above that 242, hold above it, maybe hold back above that 200 SMA, then you get the SMH continuation, you get the comeback move. Without that, this is a failure back under these very clear lows right here, which could be a sign of more downside to come. So that's the level on the short term, 242. Now the level on the larger picture, on the weekly chart, right? When we zoom out to this major weekly chart, that is, I'm watching right here. See these major weekly highs? These are back. This is back from March and April. Back from March and April on the SMH. You had a major weekly high at 230. Right here. 230. Once you rejected there, you fell back down to the 200. Once you held the 200 and got back above the 230, that's where the big breakout happened on the SMH. Back over 230. That's right where we held yesterday. 230, right? So, you have a monster weekly demand down here, and you have this 4-hour supply at 242. Here is your battle zone. This is called hopefully I'm spelling this right. I think I am. You are in the trenches, right? This is the trenches. This is the fighting in the trenches in here, right? That's a sideways trench. Let's go ahead and do a real trench. Here's your trench. Here's your little mound right here, right? Your little mound. You are trench trading in here. Right in there. So, that's the deciding move, right? That's the deciding zone. Do you break the weekly low? Do you break the 242 high? For now, trenches. Which side is it going to be? That's what we have to decide here. That's what we're watching. All right, let's get into some stocks. Tesla. Press that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Tesla. So, in terms of Tesla, right? In terms of Tesla, number one, we have earnings coming up. And so pretty hard to get a real read before earnings, right? And pretty hard to make a large judgment call here before earnings. I would say that there is a very interesting uptrend, and we've talked about this uptrend on Tesla right here, right? See that? Oh, I don't want that. This right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and yesterday is possibly the 5th test of that uptrend on Tesla since these lows back around 300, right? So we've sort of been on this uptrend. We overextended ourselves, came back down to it right here, right? Came back to it and came back to it. So this is going to be a huge spot, right? Right around this 400 to 380 spot you can see right here on Tesla. Major lows, 380, holding once again, and then 400 rejection still showing. I really don't think you're going to see much here before earnings, so I'm really not that interested in trading it, right? I think Tesla typically around earnings just becomes an absolute shit show, so I really don't think you want to be trading this right now. But I would just say let's let this earnings come out. Let's watch that 380 low. Let's watch this 400 high, and let's see, all right? Let's see if that larger term daily uptrend is something that sort of sets up the next big long opportunity. I will be watching that right here. Okay? Just a monitor for now. Nvidia. All right, so the big boy, the Nvidia. What needs to happen today on Nvidia? It looks like it's very clear now that Nvidia needs to get back over 125. This looks to be the spot that Nvidia needs to reclaim, right? We can see right here 125 turned into a very clear failure yesterday, right around 1030, which led to the downside continuation. And you can see that this is the exact level in the pre-market that has failed. So for me, to really feel confident that Nvidia can find a move, I think you got to get back over 125. If you can get back over 125, I'd say this trades back into 130, right? And then that's going to be your next big test. 130 is probably the biggest test of any level. You guys can see right here. Look at that 130 previous low. That is going to be a very big level. I think it is very possible that you do get that 130, right? I think that's likely a place that Nvidia can try to recover to. 130 would be, in my opinion, the either ultimate failure point on a retest or the ultimate comeback move. I think that is right here. That's the line in the sand for me. I think it's very possible that you get that 130 retest, but the 130 retest would be the spot I think that would sink this, right? That is where I think you would really clearly know if this is going to continue to sink, right, or actually come back. I think that is right here. That looks to be, to me, the proper spot. Right at these previous lows and right back to that level. So I would assume that Tesla or Nvidia can possibly see a little hold of this 200 SMA today. I really don't think it's smart to short Nvidia by the 200 SMA. It just, in terms of bigger picture stuff, like shorting the 200 SMA is typically not something that you'd look for. So I'd be very careful continuing to try to, stay short Nvidia by this 200 SMA. I'd probably look for this short, right? I really think this is your right short right here. 130. That's what I would wait for if you want to look for the short side. Let that thing pop and see if that fade comes in around 130. Okay? 125 also very possible. If you want to get that rejection there, you could look for that. Let's go to Broadcom. Broadcom, 211.11. Why 211.11? That is the gap fill level to watch. Right, look at this. This low right here, 211.11. That's the exact low of this candle. Look at what it's doing today. It is exactly failing at that 211 area. You need to get back above that level. You need to get back above this level. You need to reclaim that daily low right here. I would have loved if Broadcom went down a little bit more yesterday, right? Because look at how sexy a gap fill long would trade out on Broadcom here. Look at this, right? If we would have gotten a little bit more downside yesterday, right to these triple top highs at 186, this would have been a sick long. right? And that's also the 100 SMA. So maybe we get a little bit more downside on Broadcom. If we do, I would be a huge buyer at 186. Huge, right? Highs, 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 quadruple top highs, 100 SMA. I would definitely be a buyer here if we can get that downside, but I'm not sure we're going to get it, right? We'll see. We'll see if we get that full downside or not. Today, watch this 211.11 spot. TSM, big spot here on TSM as well, right? Look at this 4-hour chart on TSM. Previous highs here around this 188, 190. Previous highs, lows, lows. Look at that low that came in yesterday. So right here on TSM, this 180, 190 zone right here and this 100 SMA is a big low. Now, the level that needs to break for TSM to continue higher is abundantly clear here today, my friends, and that is 200. It is about as clear as it gets. This might be the clearest level on all semiconductors today. 200, 200, 200, 200, 200, 50 SMA must break. Must break. Okay? AMD, I'm really not that interested in this thing. This is not the comeback trade that I would look for personally, but 115, 118, very clear level still there. ASML failed the 706. That was one of our failure points. Look at how that failed perfectly around that 705, 706. Has earnings tomorrow. Leave that thing alone. That's going to be a big thing for that's going to be big for the semiconductors, the earnings there tomorrow. Let's go into Meta real quick. Meta making new highs this morning. My God. Meta is just a monster. Strongest stock on the stock market right now by a large margin. The Zuck has zucked. I mean, this thing is juicy. This thing has strength. Look for pullbacks at 637. These double top highs, perfect holds above that level yesterday. Look at the 637 yesterday, right here. 637, 637. Look at that hold. Look at the rip. Pullback long, 637. Definitely something to look for. On top of that, you can also look for 647 right here. 647, 637, 624, 607. I mean, it just ripped through these levels yesterday. Sick move. Watch 647 today. That's really what you'd want. Pull back to these lows from yesterday. That's really what you'd want. Amazon, ripped through all the levels. Perfect hold at 220. Perfect hold over 225. Perfect hold over 230. Perfect hold over 233. I mean, it just broke through all these levels yesterday. Broke and held above them. 233 would be the level to look for along today. If you get a pullback, watch 230. Pullbacks to 225. I mean, any of these pullbacks I would be watching at this point. Any retracement here on Amazon would be, any retracement to a key level would be something I watch. 233 retracement, 230 retracement, even the 225 and 20 SMA retracement could be really nice. Obviously, all-time highs at 236 is going to be tough. Google, a little bit weaker than the rest, but I would sort of watch this 194 spot again. Even back to that 190 would be really nice. Obviously, upside supply gets heavy at 200. Let's go to Netflix. I think Netflix could be a very, very big thing to watch here, guys. This might be somewhere I put some money on the table today, to be honest. Look at this, man. I don't want to miss this, right? Look at that high. Look at that high. Look at that high. Look at the break. Look at the retest. Look at the consolidation. If this thing consolidates above 950, 940, this is going to rip. I would absolutely, positively, I can't read. I can't talk. Positively be watching 940, 950 on Netflix. This is definitely something to pay attention to. Yeah, Costco's just an absolute beast, man. What a trade. Perfect off the retest. Retest of 920, 100 SMA. We talked about longing Costco off the 100. We talked about how every single time Costco has come back to the 100 SMA, it has created a long opportunity. And guess what? It did it again. Can you believe it? 100 SMA, long. 100 SMA, long. 100 SMA, long. 100 SMA, long. Did it again. Beautiful. Philip Morris, we talked about this one. Beautiful long off the 117. I'd say long over 127 is something you watch today. Watch 127. CRM, fuck me. That was a natural reaction. I couldn't even control that. I could not even control those words coming out of my mouth. Beautiful. Oh, man, is it beautiful. Just a gorgeous weekly chart setup. Look at the weekly chart. right? Previous weekly highs, look at those lows. Holy shit, that's a beauty. Congratulations to you guys that stayed headstrong on this one. Worked out beautifully, right? Just a little bit of time, zooming out, letting this thing trade. Look at that, man. Today, 348. Look at that hold over 348. 348, 348, 348, 348, 348. Look at that hold above 348 right now. Look, if you hold above 348 today, if you can continue to maintain this low right here today, you're going here. 366, 365. You're navigating through that level. If you pull back, right here is a dream of a long entry. Man, do I wish we get that. If we get a pullback to 336 today, this would be a dream of a long entry back at the 50 SMA. Look for that. CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike is in grinding this 20 and 50 SMA perfectly, right? Look at this grind on the 20 and 50 SMA. Holding, holding, holding. Very nice there. CrowdStrike is definitely one to watch today on a hold over 370. Right here, if you can hold over that 370 today, I think that's something to watch there. And then Snow was actually a nice move yesterday. Shout out Piff. 180. Snow 180 will be a big watch today. Keep an eye on that. Yeah, let's check out Apple, Microsoft, and then let's call it. Let's call it. Press that like button, subscribe to the channel. 233 Apple. That's the must break, guys. Very clear. 233 100 SMA. You got to get above it. 233 100 SMA. You got to get above it. And then Microsoft 441 447 upside supplies. Be careful there. All right. Nasdaq futures, very clear upside supply today. Please be careful up here. ES 6070, about as clear as it gets. Please be careful up here. We got to get above those levels for upside continuation. If you guys could, press that like button. Help me get to, did we get 97K? Did we get it? We did. Awesome. Thank you guys for that. Appreciate the support. So we're 3,000 away, man. 3,000 away. Come on. Help. Ayúdame. Thank you guys for all the support. Thanks for being here. Press that like button. Subscribe to the channel. If you want to trade live with me every day on the voice chat, because this is the big question I get. Voice chat down below. Subscription down below if you want to check it out. And that's about it. See you guys tomorrow. Peace.